Hey everybody, welcome to Landis Performance Channel. This is going to be our first live Tuesday night. Sorry we were late. We had a ton of technical issues, so hopefully everybody is seeing this now. Let me see if we can see what's going on here. Turn the speakers off. Okay, just give me a second here. Alright, so it doesn't look like we have anybody on the chat yet, so give it a couple minutes, but I want to discuss Scott and I drove to Bowling Green. We drove to Columbus, Ohio for the Goodguys Goodguys Car show up there, and we had a blast. We drove 2,400 miles and two hot rods, and we'll talk about that some more. Just we'll give a couple more minutes here, see if anybody gets on the live chat. Let's see what's going on here. Okay, so we do have a couple people on. Give it another 5 minutes. So what I want to do with these, just talk about what we're going to do with this stuff. So what I want to do with these Tuesday night deals is, obviously, we'll discuss things that we did last weekend, like the Goodguys show, or if we go grudge racing, or autocross, or do a drive and drag, or go tune somebody's car. Hopefully that'll be interesting to everybody. And then, you can open up for questions and stuff if people have questions on any of the videos or any of the technical stuff that I've shown, or anything automotive. I'll answer it to the best of my knowledge. I don't know everything for sure, but I have been doing this for a very long time, and been around racing and cars and stuff since I was a little kid, and I've been doing it professionally. Give my age away, but I've been doing it for 40 years, so been around this stuff some. And we can talk about projects in the shop and stuff like that, so we'll just kind of give everybody an idea what's going on. So looks like we have 4 people on now, so that may be all we get tonight, being this is the first one, and I did start a little late from all the camera technical. Right now we're using my GoPro. My Canon, for some reason I couldn't get connected to the internet. So anyway, so let's talk about the Goodguys show. So Scott, a customer of mine and very, very good friend of mine, he's got a bunch of cars, and he has a 63 Pontiac Le Mans that has an all C5 running gear underneath it. Those cars came original from the factory with a Corvair torque tube rear end, and it had a belt or a rope drive coming from the engine. So, and it had either a 326 V8 or it had half of a 326. They took this 326 cylinder head and half the block and made a 4-cylinder out of it. One of John DeLorean's hot rod projects. Anyhow, so when Scott got the car, he thought it would be really cool to keep it transaxle in the back, and that's how he came up with the idea of doing a C5 running gear in there. He had Street Shop in Alabama do the configuration. They had to lengthen the torque tube 12 inches. I think it was 12 inches. And they built a full chassis and then put the unibody car on it and welded together and got it all kind of hooked up and running and everything. Then they brought the car down, and I went through the car and kind of got it to where it's drivable. We got gauges in it, and I had to build a custom back seat. If you look on the channel, you'll see a video on the car from a while back. Car runs great. I think he got 24 miles to the gallon. It just performed awesome. And then I drove his 72 Vega station wagon, which was a one-owner car. Little old lady in California owned it. Had original paint from the firewall back. The fenders had been repainted. The actual driver's fender was replaced. It had some rot in it, and Awesome car. And Scott put a 327 Chevy with a solid cam in it. It's like a 62, 63 block with the rear crankcase vent coming out of the back of the block. It's got a quick time carburetor on it. It's got some aluminum cylinder heads, made like 400 horsepower on a dyno. Mated it to a TKO 500 trans. Put an S10 8.5 inch rear end in the car with S10 front spindles and rotors and Willwood brakes on it. Awesome driving car. I had the pleasure of driving it. Originally, I'm a little weak, I guess. When I knew it didn't have air conditioning, I wasn't thrilled about driving it all the way up to Columbus. But I said, what the heck, let me drive it the first couple fuel stops and see what happens. Well, by the time I did that, I was in love with the car, and I told him I'd drive it the rest of the way. Don't worry, step aside, I got it. And we had a good time. That car was getting probably about 16, 17 miles to the gallon, and it's got a 16-gallon fuel tank, but we were a little nervous about running it all the way down. We weren't sure how low the pickup was, and we darn sure didn't want to be stranded in the car. So we made fuel stops about every 250, 270 miles. The drive up was great. I had zero issues. Traffic was light on July 5th. We made it to Statesville, North Carolina, where he had planned on the first night stop. Got a room. That was all good. And then we had about a 6-hour drive on Thursday, to Bowling Green. We got there at 4:30, got registered, went to the first pre-show party at the Hilton, and that was a good time. Had food and drinks there, and we mingled with some of the people, kind of got the lay of the land. Neither one of us have ever been to that event, so we weren't really sure where to park and stuff like that. Our hotel was actually right across the street from the front gate. Not the best hotel, but it was a good place, to comfortable bed to sleep, and it's cool. As long as I got a place to shower and sleep, I'm good. And it had cold AC, so that was nice for sleeping. So Friday we went in, show about 6:30. People were telling us at the pre-party show they were going to get there at 4:30 in the morning. We're like, what the heck? But in the way back of the fairgrounds, there's 3 huge buildings. They're really pole barns, but they're very elaborate roofing and stuff. And those guys like to get those parked back there because they're undercover. They don't have to worry about being in the sun or if it rains, which was actually probably a pretty good idea. But so that's what they wanted. They told us they had to get there early to get into that area. The parking when you go in the front gate is pretty much wherever you want to park. There's designated parking areas, but the fairgrounds is very large. So when you come in, there's a huge parking lot that you first pull in. Some of the manufacturers are set up there. That is where they had the pits and the autocross track set up. There was a couple buildings in the center. You'd make a right-hand turn, you go back there. There was another big, huge parking lot. There was a grass area that people were parking in. And then there was a driveway that went back up to the front, and there was manufacturers there. They were all surrounded by a couple concert buildings and stuff. So we got there, and when we got there, closer to 7 o'clock, we were able to park in the grass area under some trees. It was beautiful. And they actually have a, I don't know what you call it, seating like you'd go on a ski slope or anything. From one end of the one end of the fairgrounds to the other end of the fairgrounds. So we were very close to that, so people could see the cars from up there. We could see the people riding the chairlift, and it was pretty cool. So we did Friday. We kind of just walked around trying to figure out where all the cars were at, where the swap meet was at. The swap meet was in a couple different areas, as far as they had an area for car sales. They had, which was in a parking lot. They had a like a livestock building another pole barn, but it was metal, and they had some stuff in there, and I think they had a building in the back. We didn't actually make it into there, but they had a building in the back for that. And there was in the manufacturer Midway, there was one building for indoor manufacturers. I didn't know that on Friday. I found that on Saturday, and they had 2 concert halls were set up. One was set up with all the past winners, and then another building was set up with the cars eligible to win this year, and all those cars were totally off the hook. But anyway, so we kind of walked around. I really didn't get any pictures. I figured, let me figure out what's going on here, and then I'll go around and get video on Saturday. Good idea in theory. So the park closes at 5. On Friday night we went in and pulled the cars out. You have to take all the cars. Everything has to leave at night. So I went to Nashville before. Nashville was the same way. So we went to the first day after show party, and this one was at another hotel. I don't remember. It was I don't remember the name of it, but it doesn't matter. So this one had a much larger parking lot, and were more just more partying going on. It was a good time there. We ate there, had some chicken and stuff, and walked around for a couple hours looking at cars. So we'd already, between the 2 after parties and the show, we've already seen a bunch of cars, and every time you turn around there's another car you didn't see. To go back a little bit, on the Thursday night party, people were telling us there was going to be 6,000 to 8,000 cars at this show. And we're like, yeah, okay, I've heard 5,000, but you know, we'll see. And let me tell you, there are a ton of cars there. So Friday, walking around, I started looking on everybody's window tag, because it has a registration number on it. Scott's was 2,080, let's just say. Mine was 39 and change. So I kept keeping track of the high numbers, and Friday night I saw 4982. That's Friday night, which we figured, and a lot of people said not everybody's there on Friday nights because you know, people work, people are traveling, they can't take so many days off from work and stuff, so Saturday is going to be even a bigger day. And we were kind of thinking, well, yeah, you know, they probably started at 1,000. Well, we're walking around and we're seeing cars with 200, 300, 400. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe they started at 100. Well, I seen a car with 22 and I saw a car with 18. So they must start at 0. So we know, I can promise legitimately there was 4982 there on Friday night. So we hung out there for a while, and then we went ahead and went back to the hotel and called it a night. So Saturday morning rolls around. We figured let's get to the show by 7. On the flyer, they showed that there was a special parking area for I think it was 10 different classes. I don't have the paperwork in front of me, but there was like Tri-5, Corvette, Gen X, so cars built by guys or gals under 30 years of age, traveled, you know, most distance traveled, trucks, Pro Street, Camaros, and they had Muscle Mayhem. So Scott and I said, you know, why don't we put the 2 cars in Muscle Mayhem? We didn't know if they're going to judge them or what, but you know, we never been there, so let's just do something, you know. So we got there at 7. I think there was 2 other cars in the parking, so we got the spots that we wanted, and did the setup with Scott's car being, it's got Corvette suspension. We put it up on race ramps so you can see underneath the car. We got a mirror under there. That way it kind of lets people understand that it's just not a stock looking 63 Le Mans with an LS in it and 17 and 18 inch wheels. It's, you know, it's got a whole chassis under it. So we got that all set up, and Scott decided he was going to hang by the car, and I'm going to go ahead and walk and get film. So I did. I went to the far side, actually where the entrance is, but the far side from where we were, and I started getting video of cars I thought were interesting, and kind of walk down the aisles, kind of show the kinds of cars that were there. There's a car for everybody's taste. There's everything there. It's incredible. I went through the manufacturers area, got some of the show cars that their manufacturers had on their displays, and then of course I love autocrossing, so I went back to the autocross track and watched that for a while. I filmed a little bit of it, but I didn't bring my DLR camera. I only brought my GoPro, and the GoPro really isn't good at distance shooting, and so with the distance they had from the barrier, you know, from the cone, the track, to the barriers to the fence, and the fence to the bleachers, it was quite a distance to try to get any good action shots. So I decided to just shoot cars coming in out of one corner right in front of us, where I was only about 20 feet away, and then I moved to 2 other locations and filmed that. Autocross track looked great. Really killed me not to be driving, but you know, when I get my new car done, then I'll be able to do it. Jeff Thisted, he's got a YouTube channel. You've got to check him out. He's got a brown 55 wagon, and his hashtag is I drive a 55, and he goes all over the country, mainly like on Route 66, finding these old buildings. Most of them are derelict now, but just kind of showing the history of different areas, and you know, obviously takes pictures with his car in front of a lot of the buildings and stuff. Really cool channel. If you like history or car stuff or cruising or whatever, it's a great channel. You need to go check it out. The reason I mentioned him is I got him, we went ahead and filmed a little spot for the upcoming video I'm going to do, and of course maybe I just didn't want to bother him too bad, so I just filmed it in one shot and didn't have my readers on. My wife always says don't wear your readers when you're filming, and it was in warp speed, and you can't, it was in fast motion, you can't hear him speak, and I am totally distraught about that. So only thing I can do is just tell any of my viewers, please go check his site, his page out, or his channel out. I think you'll really enjoy the content that he puts up. And of course he's got some content from the Good Guys show, and he's also got content on the autocross, since he was the MC for the autocross during the event. Anyway, so then I walked around, got some video of the autocross cars, and kind of made my round by those 3 big pole barns in the back. I didn't film any cars in there because it was really dark and didn't really show the cars very well. So at that point it was getting close to lunchtime, so I hiked it back over to the cars. Scott ate lunch, and then he decided he was going to take a short walk, and then I was going to go to that side of the fairgrounds and film that side, take the chairlift over. That would put me in the center of that group, and I could take up pictures there, and then all the cars in the under the trees in the grassed area, and work my way back up to the group of 10 classes that were up in the front. Well, that's when the skies opened up, and so it rained from 1:15 till about 3:30. That really kind of killed the show. A lot of people pulled out. One good side of that is there's 2 buildings, one behind where we were parked in the front, which they had last year's winners, or previous year's winners, not just last year, but previous winners that were eligible to come. So I got some film and some pictures of those cars, and since Scott was walking around doing whatever he was doing, he ran into this other building for shelter and ended up finding where all the cars were that were in contest for this year's Builder Awards. So he came back when it stopped raining. We talked, and I went down there and got some pictures of the cars in there, and they were incredible, top notch, best cars built. There was some really cool stuff. I'll be posting a video on the event soon, so and don't want to give away too much, but I will say there was a completely carbon fiber C10 autocross truck in there that was unfathomable. I mean, I can't even fathom how much money that truck must have cost to build. A work of art. Hopefully, after they get around the rounds of showing it, hopefully we'll see it on the autocross track soon. And that ended up being pretty much that called that day. I mean, by the time I filmed that stuff and got back to the cars, it was 4:30, and most of the spectators had already left and everything, so we went ahead and packed up. We went back to the first hotel, the Hilton, for the after show there, walked around, and again, we found more cars that we hadn't seen before. So, unbelievable. I wished it hadn't rained because we didn't get to see everything, and I definitely didn't get to film everything to show you guys. We did go back Sunday morning, but it was pretty sparse on Sunday. There wasn't a whole lot of stuff there. I mean, a whole lot of stuff. There was still over 1,000 cars there, but at the size of the fairgrounds, they were spread out pretty far, and it kind of looked like a ghost town. But we stayed till 12 o'clock, and then we went ahead and drove home. The drive home was good through Ohio, and then once we got past Ravenswood, West Virginia, the skies opened up. So we're going through the most hilliest and turning, a lot of turns up and through the mountains and stuff, a lot of elevation changes. On the way to the show, we had a blast going through there, you know, speeding a little bit, whatever, but having a blast running through those chicanes and stuff and switchbacks. But on the way home, now it's pouring rain, and there's tractor trailers, and the traffic was heavy, and that was not a fun ride. And of course, our cars don't have defrost in them, and they don't have air conditioning in them. So it was windows open as far as you dared to keep the rain out, and rags on the windshield trying to keep the fog down so you could see where you're going, and driving very carefully. And a couple times it would stop, and then you're like, oh good, we got through it. And then you drive 15 minutes and boom, another downpour. So it was like that all the way to back to Statesville in North Carolina. That's where we stayed. We got there pretty late, but the driver of the Smurf that you see on my channel, Jason, he lives an hour or so away from Statesville. So on the way up, he was like, I can't believe you were close by and didn't stop and say hi. Of course, we were on the time restraints, but on the way home, originally we figured we'd be there around 6 o'clock. Yeah, let's hook up and go to dinner. Well, it didn't quite work out like that, but we did hook up. We did go to dinner, and we did go downtown Statesville. And here we're in this little town, you know, couple brick buildings, and I mean, you roll up the streets, it's a tiny little town, and there's classics cruising around. It's so cool. And it wasn't a car show night or anything. It was just a nice night, and people were taking their cars out for a ride. So that was pretty cool. So that leaves us till Monday morning. We get up, and now we got the long leg left. Statesville, North Carolina to Boynton Beach is 10 and a half hours, but with as many fuel stops, 11 hours, maybe closer to 12. And when you know it, we left the hotel. Skies are nice. We get through Charlotte, boom, downpours again, all the way back, all the way to home. I mean, there was some open spots of no rain, but for the most part, it rained the entire trip. That was kind of a bummer, but still very enjoyable. Cars performed perfectly. Got good fuel mileage. We had no mechanical issues. What can you say? I mean, it was a great trip. I did lie a little bit. On the way up, we had an issue with the Vega fuel tank vent was about equal with the top of the tank, and when we'd fill it up and the tank was hot from being on the highway, it would push fuel out. So in Statesville on Thursday morning, I did stop at a Napa store and get it some hose and coil it up and make a pigtail and get it up above the tank, and that pretty much stopped that. It still would push a little bit of fuel out when you filled it, because I was filling it to the top to get as far as I could. It would spit a little fuel out, but not bad. But other than that, that's really not an issue. I mean, that's something that kind of knew was there, just didn't take care of it. So, but that was we had a great time. We are planning on going next year, and we definitely, anybody that's on the route, our route is 95, 26, 77, and then at Ravenswood, West Virginia, 33 to Columbus. So if you're anywhere on that route, hook up with us. You know, leave a comment on the YouTube channel, leave a comment on my Instagram, Landis Performance, and let us know you want to get involved, and we'll get your information and let you know when we're leaving and stuff, because that was definitely a blast, and it would have been even more fun if we had 6, 8, 10 cars traveling. So that's our plan for next year, so stay tuned for that. So that was pretty much the event for that. We got a couple people left some messages here. Hang on, I gotta put my glasses on. Pure Pontiac Garage says hello. Hey man. Buck Does It says hello everyone. So we're this is something I want to try to do every Tuesday night. I'm on a couple Facebook groups, Holly, EFI help, and Excel DFI help, tech help. So you know, feel free. I've got some videos on my channel. I'm gonna make more, definitely make a ton more Holly videos. I'm gonna make a couple more Excel videos as I get requests. I got one now for acceleration fuel I have to do. But you know, this will be a chance where we can communicate live. People can leave comments and we can go from there. And you know, again, we'll discuss whatever racing or shows or events I did over the weekend. Kind of let everybody know what's going on, and we can discuss project cars in the shop. Right now I've got a 69 Z28 that we're doing LS3, 4L70 trans, doing a gear swap, Holly mid-mount package, BTR, Brian Tooley intake manifold, equalizer, Holly Terminator electronics, and got to do some exhaust work and some other stuff, Dakota Digital dash in there. So I'm going to be doing as I'm getting this car done, I'll get a video done on that. Of course, I've got the blue 69 Chevelle in progress. I've got some pictures. Cars made some cameos over time. That's a buddy of mine. We work on that on Saturdays. We're probably not going to video too much because there's a whole lot of commotion on Saturdays when we're working on it, but we'll definitely do a walk around build up video when we're done. Other things I got in the works, I'm finishing up a 65 F100. I put the fuel injection, the Holly fuel injection off of Chuck's truck on that fuel injection came off his truck that I just released the twin turbo LS engine build video on. That truck originally had a 383 700 R4, which went in the black 54 Chevy that we did the video on last year. We did the year and a half ago, we did the before, and then about 8 months later we did the after. So that's where his motors went. So his truck's sitting empty waiting for the new heart transplant. We've got a 4L80 going in his truck. Holly just sent me the Terminator, so now we've got that for it. And our goal is maybe in the next couple weeks to get the motor in, wired and fired so it drives. And then because of our friendship, and I don't charge him to work on his vehicle, we have to get the blue 69 Chevelle done first, and then we can get his truck in to get all the hot side plumbing and the intercoolers and all that stuff. So that'll be coming up soon. I'm going to try to get the Vet Hawk in the shop. I got a spot almost cleared for it. I want to start getting all the floors put in that. I got a motor, a dummy motor and trans core to put in, so I can kind of start getting the sizing done for that, get the firewall built, kind of start laying where everything's going to go. I have to still decide on how much drop I'm going to put the body on the Corvette chassis. For those that haven't seen it, that is a 77 Skyhawk, which is a Monza body, and I put it on a 89 Corvette C4 chassis. It's going to be my new autocross car. I've got a 427 engine I'm going to build here shortly. There'll be a video on that. It's going to get a 4L80 with a Jake engine brake valve body, so it'll be paddle shifted through the Holly. It's going to have a Dominator. I got the 12.5-inch screen, so I have to build a custom dash for that. It'll get a full roll cage. It'll be a real cool car, and it gets I have a Decon phase 2 wide body kit that's going on it. So I have the first video on the channel of cutting the car apart and putting new frame rails in the vet cart to put the two together, and I put it together, and that's where that video ended. I'm working on part 2. As soon as I get the engine and trans mounted, I've got the body on it. It's not mounted permanently, I just kind of hung it, but as soon as I get that all done, I'll release part 2 of that video. And then on Scott's Olnick vintage race car hauler. Of course, I drove it a couple times. I drove it down from Ohio, and then we used it with my trailer back, and we took 2 cars up to LS Fest last year. And the 366 is a good engine, but it's pretty anemic, especially when there's 2 cars with a trailer on the back. So, and the fuel mileage is really bad. So Scott used it to go to cruising Biloxi or something a couple weeks ago, and the first time he's drove it, he's not real crazy about the manual transmission. I have an Allison he bought a while back to put in. I never got to it, but I was trying to figure out how to get the truck up off the ground high enough to be able to slide a tranny on a tranny jack underneath it, because as it is, the truck's only 10 inches off the ground. So, I mean, you can barely slide your body underneath it, let alone have it jacked up high enough to get the tranny in and out from underneath it. So, him and I were talking a while back, and originally I said, why don't you put an 8.1 in it? It's the big block Chevy that comes in front of the Allison in a 3500 truck. It's fuel injected. It has long runners. It'll make a lot of torque. At the time, he's like, oh, the 366 runs great. Why would I want to do that? Well, after he drove it by himself, he kind of now gets what I was saying. And so we found a motor. Unfortunately, we pulled it apart and it had spun mains and spun rods. So I had to get a new crank, or a new to us crank, replace 4 connecting rods. And so that motor is at the machine shop now being machined. Once we get that back from the machine shop, I'll do an assembly video on that. And then we will mate the Allison and the 8.1 together. And then what I think I'm going to do now is I'm just going to pull the front cap off the truck. And that way I can pull the 366 and the big Clark 5-speed out of it through the front and put the new engine and trans in through the front. So we won't have to jack it up quite as high. I'll get it high enough that you can roll underneath it with a creeper, but not enough that we can get a trans under it. And we're gonna put a thruster on that. A Terminator X on that. We won't run an X Max because it doesn't support Allison. So I've got a transmission computer. I don't remember the guy that we got it from, but I will put it in the description in the video I do when I do that truck. So the Allison will be a standalone transmission controller. So that'll be a lot of fun. That make that truck very drivable, and hopefully almost double the fuel mileage, because it's only getting 5 right now. So anything over 5 would be a way better deal. And Scott's Skylark, you guys haven't really seen that. I've seen, it's been in cameos and pictures of other car projects we've been doing. We have the car running and driving. I've got to get it back in the shop and finish some electrical work. We're going to redo the dash and gauges which they just came back. So we'll get that back in the shop in a couple weeks and get that finalized and get the video done on that. I gotta finish the video on the plasma cutter. We bought a plasma cutter and I got most of that video done. I didn't finish it yet, and I got a lot of editing to do. That's for anybody that's thinking about a YouTube channel. Editing, oh my gosh, that takes so much time. I figure right now it's about an hour for every minute to get a video done. I'm a little faster, and some of the bigger, longer videos go a little quicker because there's long segments. But let's just say the LS383 video I just did, that was 8 hours to edit that video, and there's a lot of stuff in it that I didn't like the way it came out. But I mean, after 8 hours, I just had to call it quits and send it, you know. So you know, that's what we're going to try to do with that's what we're doing in the shop, and talking about those projects is what I want to do on these Tuesday night lives. So you know, this is the first one. Hopefully you know, for next Tuesday people can write down questions and stuff and put them on the chat, and I'll try to answer them best I can. That way we can kind of build a rapport, you know, instead of just sending a comment. And you know, at least this way we can talk, and maybe I can show some pictures or some diagrams and kind of show you what I'm talking about. So let's see, what else is there? These 6 o'clock Tuesday nights. Hopefully next week I'll have the camera working, because I was hoping if the camera was working I was going to show you a couple pictures from Bowling Green, but do a camera picture-in-picture kind of thing. But with the GoPro I can't do that. I'll have the couple projects in here, so we can maybe do a walk around with some of the projects that are in the shop. Again, I don't want to do that tonight because like the equipment's not completely set up the way I wanted it. So yeah, so we did the truck, we did the Camaro, we did Skylark, the black truck, which I'll show some videos on that. I'm trying to get some of the Terminator issues done. We had a ECU go bad, so it's kind of gotten prolonged. I think that's it. We're not running the Smurf until I think August, so it'll be a while till we get another video on that one. Of course, I can't show any autocross stuff because one, Palm Beach International has been closed, and I don't have a car anymore. I sold the 50, and that's so I don't have a car. I see Buck Does It says StreamYard is really easy to share pictures. So yeah, thank you for that tip. I'm new to this stuff, learning as I go. Learning not very good, but I'm learning. So yeah, let me check into that. I definitely want to get that done. I don't know why I couldn't get my camera right, the webcam and the laptop. But so I was going to use my DLR for my webcam, because my computer doesn't have a webcam, and I was going to use the tower. That way I could, because that's got my hard drive with all the pictures and videos, even all the raw footage that's not been put into YouTube videos yet. So I mean, I can do a picture-on-picture in that. So it's exactly what I was thinking. I started this at noon today, and I thought, oh, I'll get this all hooked up and we'll be good to go. And then I looked at the clock and it's 6:02 and I'm not live yet. So I kind of scrambled at the end, got the GoPro working, and that worked for today. So I apologize to everybody for not being as set up like I wanted to be. It's kind of a learning curve. We're all in this together. Hopefully you hang and stay with me until obviously if you look at my videos, my original videos were pretty bad. The newer videos are better. I wouldn't say they're good yet, but I'm getting better at editing and putting in music and stuff like that. And please, if anybody has any ideas or anything like that, or if you have a channel and you have tricks that you do that work, you know, feel free to drop a note, let me know. I could use all the help I can. I'm almost thinking that in the shop, I'll probably have to do or I want to do, maybe see if I can find an intern from the local college or something, because I'd love to get more information as I'm doing it on the job. You know, as I'm putting the parts on, we could explain what's going on and stuff. It's really hard to do it by yourself. You know, you think you got it, and then you go back at the end of the day, you got 3-4 projects done on a car, and you go back and find that the camera wasn't aimed right, or it didn't even work, or you were trying to do a time warp and it was on regular, or you're trying to do regular and it's on time warp. It's a mess. So I don't know, that may be something in the future. I'm gonna try to start looking into that, because I could put a lot more videos out if I were able to have an assistant that could do that. Obviously I don't have we're not making any money on the channel, so it's something that if I could find like an intern or somebody who's interested in getting involved in this stuff. If you know somebody that's in South Florida and they're wanting to become a future filmmaker and they want to, you know, get a start, help them, drop me a line. Thanks, Bucky. Said I did great, a great job. Appreciate that. I've watched your lives and you do a good job also. I hope to get to your level. Oh, forgot. So I got 2 engine builds I gotta get started on. I've got a AMC Gremlin. It's got a 4.2. It's turbocharged. A buddy of mine that's got a paint shop, he bought it that way. And when I started working on it to try to help him get it running better, we found out that it has 2 dead holes in it. So it's running on 4 cylinders. And it's been that way for like 2 years. He thinks it runs fine, because with the turbocharger, it actually makes some power and actually drives good for a Gremlin. But, you know, I know that with it operating right, the thing's gonna be about 500 horsepower and he's gonna rock his socks. So I've got a 4-liter Jeep motor that we've already machined. I've got all the components and I'm ready to start assembling that engine. That will be coming up. And we finally have all of the parts for Leo's Studebaker with the 4200. So the 4200 is an awesome 6-cylinder engine. I would really love in the future to build a early 30s or maybe you know, Model A or Model T Roadster with one of those engines in it. You can put a turbo on that thing and make 1,000 horsepower like nothing. Leo's motor, with only 20 pounds of boost, has dynoed over 1,200 horsepower, and his car has been 804, I think, is the best in a 2,500 pound car. So that motor, I've got some videos on there. We've had a lot of issues with that motor, and the last go around with the engine, there was a father-son race team. I think they were in Oklahoma, Self Racing, and they specialize with these engines. They ran them in Comp Eliminator, and they had originally built this motor, the one that Leo has, for a Chevy 2 that ran in, I think, the 2005 drag week. Really cool package. Unfortunately, they rebuilt. Let me backtrack here. We were having problems with the Big Stuff 3 on the car. We were having problems getting data, and of course we're trying to make the car go faster, and without data I can't even see what the air fuel mixture was or anything. So we decided to put a Holley Dominator in it. I rewired the car, put the Holley Dominator in it. We went to the chassis dyno. I took the tunes from the Big Stuff, the timing maps and the fuel maps, converted them and put them in the Holley, and then I added like 20% fuel for safe keep. And as we were on the dyno, we were slowly creeping up on RPM and boost. So we started with idle, we went idle to 3,000, idle to 4,000, idle to 5,000, and idle to 5,000 we got to about 9 pounds of boost. Everything's good, fat and happy. Keep taking fuel out a little at a time, just being very cautious with it. we got to our 4th or 5th run, I forget, it was a couple of years ago now, and we went to go to 7,000 RPM, and we wanted to see 20 pounds of boost. And on the way to 7,000, it kicked the connecting rod out the side of the block. So obviously our day was done. We pulled the motor, sent it back to self-racing. We ran around and around. They ended up keeping the motor for about 1.5 years. I don't know what I wasn't involved in that portion of it. That was Leo and Glenn and his son. And nevertheless, we got the motor back from them. We put it in the car. I went over to Leo's, and we found valve lash loose. We tried to communicate with itself to find out what was going on, why the lash was why it was, or if there was a particular reason why they did it that way. And we couldn't get a hold of them, and we found out like 2 or 3 weeks later that they both had been in the hospital and both passed away with COVID. So we were kind of like, all right, well, we're on our own now with this thing. We, unfortunately, because they were comp racers, they were kind of secretive. They wouldn't really let anybody know what was in the engine. So we went ahead and talked to comp cams. They told us where the lash should be. They ground the cams. We got the lash close to those specs. We ran the car, and it just wasn't performing the way it should. Looked at the data logs. Air fuel was good. If anything, just a tick on the rich side. We were still running the timing map from the big stuff. We verified it was actually running the numbers it was supposed to be running. So we knew that that map was good with the distributor, and we knew it was good with the coil and plug. We were having some issues with the coils, so I converted to coil and plug. And so we decided to call it. And then when Leo took it home, he was doing a leak down test and found out one hole had like 90% leak down. So we pulled the motor out of the car, and there's videos on the website or on the channel. It had a stuck exhaust valve, but when we pulled it all the way down, because we figured, well, we better learn what's in this motor because we don't know, and they never would tell us. So when we pulled it all the way down, we found it also had ate the thrust out of it. So at that point, we decided to go through the engine completely. And then when I was blueprinting the engine, I found that the mains were really tight. So I had to send the block and have the mains line board, and we had to send the cylinder head out and get that all repaired. The cylinder head came back a while ago. Kind of the way things worked out, I didn't check the block until after that. We had a major issue when I was torquing the mains to check the gap, to check the bores. 2 main studs broke, and we pulled them out, and they were something custom. I called ARP, I called a couple other stud companies. Nobody could identify what they were, so we assumed that they were something that Self had made or had somebody make custom for them. So rather than spending an absorbent amount of money, we decided to go ahead and try to find something off the shelf. Went through ARP, and on the 3rd try we found a stud that would work. So that's when I checked the bore, found the line bore tight, and we took it to a machine shop that knows these engines, and they went ahead and straightened it all out. So now that motor is also ready to go together. So that's going to be another package. That'll be, we'll have video assembling the motor, putting it in the car, and then taking it to the track and race it. We won't have to dyno it unless Leo wants to, because we've already got a base tune made for it, and we're switching from the original Trailblazer coils that we were using. Now we have the IGN 1A coils, so we won't have spark issue anymore, and the Dominator can fire that no problem. And so that thing should be ready to go. And our goal is we want 7. I'd like to see some 770s out of it, but if we can get into the 7s, that would be our good starting point. So those are what's coming down in the pipeline. I think that's it. So I want to keep these lives to about an hour, unless of course we get into a big discussion or something like that. So again, if you guys have any ideas or topics or anything, leave them in the comments for this live, because obviously the live is almost over. But and then next Tuesday, put them in the chats, and then we can talk about them, and we can continue on and make this community grow. I don't know if you guys have figured it out yet, but I love cars. I love hot rods. I love working on them. I've been blessed my whole career. I've got to play. I have never really had to work, because I love everything I do. So my wife hates it. And you know, now that we have the shop here at the house, I mean, this is awesome. I got a long commute to work. I have to walk out the house garage, walk around the pool, and then open the shop. It takes forever, and the traffic is atrocious. So anyway, just a little joking there. But yeah, so you know, it gives us the opportunity to go do events and do everything. I'm not going to be able to make it to LS Fest this year because I have a wedding to go to, but that's definitely on the list next year. What do you call it? Columbus, Goodguys, definitely must do next year. Scott wants me to go with him to Cruising the Coast in October. I may go, depending on what the workload is at that point. We'll only probably go for a couple of days. That's like a 8-day, 10-day event, 3 cities, and you cruise up and down. I think it's State Road 90, which connects all the towns, and they have different parties, different concerts and car shows going in all 3 cities all 3 days. So they get like 8,000 to 10,000 cars, but they're broken up into 3 different areas. But Scott's been last year, and he says when you pull up a chair along I-90, or not I-90, State Road 90, and it's a all-day car show. Cars cruising up and down the highway and everything, and they get a lot of people. I think Dennis Cage from My Classic Car goes, and they usually have like Iron Resurrection, the Martins, I think a bunch of different automotive TV celebrities are there, so that'll be really cool. I'd like to go. It just depends on what we're doing. I've got a lot of stuff between this fall. We'll be doing a lot of racing with the Grudge car, so I gotta kind of plan strategically how much time I can get out of the shop, because I still have projects in the shop that need to be finished, so I can get those videos made and on the channel. So it's kind of a vicious circle, but at least we get to do it if we want to. So with that being said, we're really close to an hour. I think we'll go ahead and say our dues for this time. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, share, ring the bell for instant notifications, all that good stuff. And we're really getting close. I think we're almost at 1,000 subscribers now, and our watch hours still a little low. We're still only about 2,200 watch hours, but we're working on that. It'd be good to where we can listen. Nobody's making a living off of YouTube, but if you can get a little bit of supplemental money, it helps put money into these projects that we're doing, so we can put more cool parts on and stuff like that. So that's our whole gist of doing this. And just to let you know, my gist of doing the channel is I want to share my 40+ years experience. You know, I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. However, our generations, as generations go away, a lot of information goes with it. So I'm trying to put the information on YouTube, and that way it'll help future generations fix their hot rods, hopefully. So that's why I like, you know, comments on other things to put on there, because, you know, I'm going to try to put everything I know on there, but it's going to take time, and of course the right project has to come along to do that. But we're definitely going to get, you know, 4 or 5 more engine builds, so that'll really push the blueprinting, how that's done and why it's done and the tools needed. I know the LS383 video got really long, so I don't know what we're gonna do. I know on the Camaro, and when I get the Camaro video done, it'll be interesting to see everybody's comment. I'm not really doing much time warp on that. I'm pretty much gonna show the products and then put them on the car and then show them installed. I'm hoping that'll put a lot more information and keep the videos shorter so people stay interested in them. So that's what we're doing. So I guess we're gonna pull the plug on tonight. Hopefully everybody comes back next Tuesday. I see Ryan Lee says thanks. Thank you for watching. And everybody else that was on, thank you for watching. And that's it. See ya.